Hello out there, students and parents of Spanish 1. We're going to begin with new vocabulary and grammar for the third part of Chapter 6. Not a whole lot. It's not a very deep chapter, but the information that we do have is very complementary with everything else that we've done so far within Chapter 6. There's going to be a little bit more with what we call Go Verbs, which are regular ER or IR verbs. But have a slightly irregular yo form irregularity to them, as well as a little bit of new vocabulary as well. I should probably get one thing out there just to start things out, which is that for this chapter, there actually isn't any vocabulary available. So I wanted to make you aware of that in advance right now, in case the only reason you watch these screencasts is just so you could snag a little bit of extra credit. Now, that shouldn't be the reason that you watch these. The real reason you should watch these is really a couple different possibilities, right? One is that you're just trying to get ahead of the game. The other one is so that you have more time to study and prepare. Another one, of course, is just for further, deeper understanding. And of course, another one that not a lot of people think about is, what if we miss class? What if you miss a Monday or a beginning of the week when we're going over some new material or we're going over it again? Well, this gives you an opportunity to look at the things that we discuss on a daily basis in class. So you're not really missing, even if you miss. That being said, let's go ahead and get started with our new vocab for Chapter 6.3, discussing problems and giving advice. First one, cortar el césped, to mow the lawn. Cortar actually means to cut, like to cut the lawn, but the general translation is cortar el césped. Cuidar el gato, to take care of the cat. Deber means to should or to ought to, which is an awkward sounding word by itself, but when you start conjugating it, it'll make more sense. Like yo debo, I should. Tú debes, you should. Él debe, he should. Or nosotros debemos, we should. So you'll see some examples of that in sentences that I show you in a few minutes. Deber, to should or to ought to. Debes, you should or you ought to. Just one conjugation of it. Demasiado, too much. Demasiado. Dice que, he says or she says. Hacer la cama, to make the bed. Hacer la cama. Limpiar la cocina, to clean the kitchen. Menos means less. Menos. No es cierto, it's not true. No es cierto. Pasar la aspiradora, to vacuum. Now that's the general translation, to vacuum. The literal translation is, this is a fun one, to pass the aspirator. So like the thing that you're moving around is something that moves air, something, you know, an aspiration style device. Well, that's what a vacuum is. So slightly different sound to it in Spanish than in English. Planchar is to iron. Planchar. Poner la mesa, to set the table. Un problema, a problem. ¿Qué debo hacer? What should I do? That's another conjugation of the verb deber we had up here. To should or to ought to. Well, here's the yo form of it. What I should to do. Or in English, we would say, what should I do? Los quehaceres domésticos. This is a great word. It actually just means chores or household chores. The literal translation is the what to do's domestic. The domestic what to do's. We just call them chores. Los quehaceres domésticos en español es un poquito diferente. Okay. La sala, the living room. La sala. Trabajar en el jardín, to work in the garden. Trabajar en el jardín. Y eso es todo. And that is all for your vocabulary. As you can see, not a whole lot of it, but enough. For your vocabulary, for your grammar for this week, let's go ahead and get started here. Does it turn? Oh, fancy titles and things. Okay, very good. So it says discussing problems, giving advice. The biggest thing where it talks about giving advice, they're talking about conjugating the verb deber, and that's the first thing that we're going to look at here. So deber is a regular verb, called a helping verb, that when conjugated states what should or ought to be done. So, for example, since it's an ER verb, yo debo, I should. Tú debes, you should. Él or ella debe, he or she should. Nosotros debemos, we should. Vosotros debéis, you all, informal should. Ellos deben, they should. Or ustedes deben, you all should. So here's what it might, here's a couple of examples. Yo debo estudiar más. I should to study more. Or I should study more. Let me move over here for a second. Ellos deben lavar los platos. They should wash the dishes. They should wash the dishes. If it's difficult for you to think of it that way, another way you can think of it is they ought to wash the dishes, or I ought to study more. And that's your sentence structure. You'll always have a conjugation of the verb deber plus some sort of an infinitive afterwards. We're going to practice that a lot in class, so be ready for it. Okay, la próxima, next item. I'll get myself out of the way here as much as I can. There we go. So 3 go verbs. These are pretty much just like any other regular ER or IR verb. It's just that in the yo form, they have this go ending to it that's a little bit different. Normally, the yo form of poner would be pono. The yo form of hacer would be aso. And the yo form of salir would be salo. But because these are go verbs and they're just slightly different, you have pongo, hago, and salgo. Every other aspect of them is actually correct. If you look at the endings of the 2 ER verbs, o, es, hemos, es, en, o, es, hemos, es, en, they're completely regular. If you look at the endings of this IR verb, o, es, hemos, is, and en. Again, that is a regularly styled ending for the verb salir as well. So every aspect of these are regular except for this go verb beginning. We're going to practice these a lot in class. You should be able to memorize these and conjugate them very quickly and very well and pronounce them well on your own. It'll be a big part of quizzing as well. So commit those to memory. Formulate some questions if you have any. Bring them to class, and we'll see if we can't get them taken care of during class. And if for some reason it's something that's really pressing and absolutely can't wait, feel free to email me at mtmoore@stcs.org, and we'll see if we can't help you out. Buena suerte, good luck, chao, hasta luego, y adios.